Murray Watt is the Agriculture Minister. He's just returned from Indonesia where there are concerns about foot and mouth disease. Let's listen in.
The reason that matters is that particularly lumpy skin disease is a particular threat to the north of our country because, as I've been advised, the way that is most likely to get into our country is mosquitoes who are in any of Indonesia, Papua New Guinea or Timor-Leste, potentially being blown into Australia by wind, especially as we reach the disaster season and the cyclone season. So having that Northern Australia coordinator in place will play a particular role in making sure that we have effective measures on the ground in Northern Australia, which is particularly exposed to lumpy skin disease, but of course also to foot and mouth disease. That money that I've announced, the $9 million, will also support state and territory governments with their efforts to prepare for any possible outbreak. And finally, it will help pay for some of the targeted communication that I've already mentioned and that you can see here behind me. So that is significant new funding that's being allocated by our government, $14 million, split between $5 million overseas and $9 million in Australia. And that shows that we are prepared to continue ramping up our measures in response to the threat and, importantly, in response to the biosecurity advice that we receive. Now, I'm aware that both before I went away and while I've been away, there's been a whole range of ideas put forward by a range of people about what the government should be doing. And I note that some of these ideas are being put forward by people who have been in government for the last 9 years and didn't see fit to introduce any of those measures at any time they were in government, despite the fact that the foot and mouth disease outbreak began before we were elected, and despite the fact that we have seen foot and mouth disease enter other countries in our region in recent years while these people were in government and didn't introduce the very measures that they are now demanding that we introduce. But I am aware that there is significant concern out there, particularly in rural Australia, because this would be a devastating blow to our agriculture industry. And we owe it to all of us as Australians to take the steps necessary to contain this outbreak and keep it out of our country. The federal government is doing our job and taking our share of the responsibility, and we will continue to take further steps as required based on biosecurity advice. I'm not just going to take a stab in the dark and do things because they sound good to people. The way we have largely managed COVID as a country over the last couple of years is by listening to experts about these things and doing things that work. And that's what I intend to do with this outbreak and any other biosecurity outbreak that we see threaten Australia.
And that's where we leave Murray Watt. This is a really important issue. There are a number of things that he's looking at, lumpy skin disease, just one of them, as he mentioned, and also foot and mouth disease, a particular problem in Indonesia. So that is in hand at the moment.